in Vietnam in Platoon. Richard Gere and Kim Basinger are lovers on the run in No Mercy. And Eddie Murphy is profiled in a special look at his remarkable career. It's all coming up next on Siskel and Ebert and the Movies.
The torching of a village in Vietnam, one of many dramatic moments in the controversial new war film Platoon, a film that claims to be the first fiction movie to accurately represent the fighting in that tragic war. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. One of the key claims of Platoon is that this is the first movie to tell the story of the War of Vietnam from ground level, from the point of view of the average infantryman. The movie was written and directed by Oliver Stone, who dropped out of college in the 1960s to enlist in the Army and who volunteered for combat duty in Vietnam. And Stone based the movie on his own experiences. His character in the film is played by Charlie Sheen. And before he's been in Vietnam for a week, he's already having second thoughts, which he expresses in a letter home.
It's scary because nobody tells me how to do anything because I'm new. Nobody cares about the new guys. They don't even want to know your name. The unwritten rule is a new guy's life isn't worth as much because he hasn't put his time in yet. And they say if you're going to get killed in the Nam, it's better to get it in the first few weeks. The logic being, you don't suffer that much. If you're lucky, you get to stay in the perimeter at night. And then you pull a 3-hour guard shift. So maybe you sleep 3-4 hours a night, but you don't really sleep.
Early in his tour of duty, he's on watch one night when the enemy approaches and he freezes. In a moment comes his baptism by fire, and before long the kid is accepted as one of the platoon. That includes membership in a bunker devoted entirely to drugs.
You lame, Taylor?
Oh, what?
Are you lame or something?
Go ahead, old man, smoke it.
And if you go chasing rabbits, and you know you're going.
Get out of here! It's in the wind, troop.
The movie has extraordinary combat footage so raw and crazy and powerful that it makes earlier Vietnam battle scenes look choreographed. And in this movie, you can't predict who's going to get killed and who is going to live because just like in real war, it's as if those choices were not left to the scriptwriters. The movie gives us two powerful characters to represent opposing attitudes toward the war. There's the hard-boiled professional soldier played by Tom Berenger, whose face is a mask of scar tissue. And there's the pot-smoking fatalist who defies authority. He's played by Willem Dafoe. Two great performances. The kid is caught between those two strong authority figures, and his war will be a question of which one he finally chooses. Platoon is a great movie, a powerful movie, and one of the year's best.
Oh, I think it is too, Roger, and I'm so delighted that having gone through the era of, the wonderful era of Coming Home, Apocalypse Now, and the Deer Hunter, films that really were about the war, and then about 6 or 7 years later, we get this whole revisionist Rambo fantasy war is fun thing. Now we come back. The pendulum is swinging back now, and we are getting back to what that war was about, a war that is so important in so many ways to this country. And, you know, there's this memorial that was finally built. Well, this is its own kind of memorial, this film, because this film is what it's about. And I think that much is important.
I think this is Oliver Stone's own memorial. We know that he went to Vietnam and that he saw what went on there. When he came back, he's a screenwriter who wrote movies like Midnight Express and Scarface. He waited a long time to do his Vietnam story because I think it took him a long time to simplify it, to get it down to what it really meant to him and not just to be caught up in all of the symbols of the war and all of the controversy of that war, his own experience.
Well, I want to take you into one of my favorite scenes of the Platoon film, and that involves a line of narration with Charlie Sheen writing to his grandmother a quote that I can't forget. And the quote is, "Hell is a place where there is no reason." And the whole movie, I think, suggests that Vietnam was such a hell. And the scene that captures that as well as any in the picture is the scene where the troops begin to let out their rage against some of the Vietnamese and threaten to kill their children. The soldiers also tear into each other.
Burn! Burn! Stay out of this, Elias. This ain't your show. You ain't a firing squad, you piece of...
That's powerful stuff, and those of us back home who read about the infamous My Lai incident of American soldiers killing innocent women and children, I think we all read those news reports and at first thought, how could they? Well, this doesn't excuse anyone's conduct, but that scene in Platoon that we just saw and others like it helped me to understand how such a thing could happen in wartime. We don't approve it, I have to underline that, but we now understand it, and rare is the film that brings such understanding of horrible things.
The other thing that the film does, I think, is bring an understanding of the daily conditions under which those soldiers lived. And Stone took his soldiers out in the Philippines, where this movie was shot, and put them through basic training for weeks before they made this film. They were eating sea rations, they were up all night, they were marching around, to the point where when the movie started shooting, they were in a state of utter and total exhaustion, and you can see that. These are not actors giving nice, neat performances. These are people who are strung out to the last ounce of courage and endurance that they have, and that comes through on the screen, the pressure that they were under.
Neither one of us served in Vietnam, and as I know, I sat there, I thought, boy, we don't know what we're talking about unless we were there, I'm afraid. That's the power of this film. Still ahead, Richard Gere and Kim Basinger in the romantic thriller No Mercy, and also a look at the career of the Golden Child's big star, Eddie Murphy.
In my pocket, it's a whole thing of Tic Tacs. Take as many.
In fact, sometimes during the summer, too, is what movie can I take my little kids to? It's a tough question because fewer than 2% of all films are rated G. One such film, though, is the re-release of Disney's Lady and the Tramp from 1955, that charming story of puppy love, featuring an upscale Cocker Spaniel and a downtown mutt. Naturally, the tramp gets the lady in all sorts of trouble, like when they chase chickens.
Just look at those fat, lazy biddies. Well, they should have been up hours ago.
Some fun, eh, kid? Hey, what's going on in there?
What's that?
That's the signal to get going. Come on.
This is living, eh, kid?
Is it?
Come on, bitch.
One of the surprises you'll get in seeing this movie 31 years after it came out is that Peggy Lee, no less, wrote some of the songs, including He's a Tramp. You don't expect such a hip singer in a kid's film. Here's that song backed by assorted visuals from the movie.
He's a tramp. He's a scoundrel. He's a rounder. He's a cad. He's a tramp, but I love him. Yes, even I have got it pretty bad.
Great music, and I'm still amazed that they got Peggy Lee, one of the Miss Peggy Lee, as she is known. Lady and the Tramp worked in 1955 for me as a little boy. I even enjoyed the mushy part just at the end there where you saw where Tramp takes Lady to the back of the Italian restaurant and they have that first kiss as they slurp that spaghetti together. Normally kids are going, ooh, not that time, it worked. Maybe that's because I had a Cocker Spaniel, Roger. That was my first dog.
Really?
Yes, I thought it was like Lady.
Did you used to kiss the Cocker Spaniel?
I sure did. I have a little picture of me with my arm around it. Missy was her name. God bless her soul, wherever she may be this holiday season. Missy, my Cocker Spaniel. So I say, to the answer to the question that people are always asking, I say the best film out now for young kids, it's Lady and the Tramp. It is really enjoyable.
You know what? I enjoyed seeing it just last night for the first time.
Is that right?
Oddly enough, yes. the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, when little lady is just a puppy, and it's done almost all without dialogue. They try to get her to stay downstairs in her little basket, and she keeps wanting to go upstairs, and she wants to push the door open, and then she howls, and then she listens to see that they hear her, and then she howls some more, and finally they let her into the bed. And that sequence, all by itself, is one of the greatest animated sequences that Disney ever did. Then the whole movie, I'm a pushover for movies like that. You know, watch this movie or we'll shoot this dog, right?
It's beautiful.
Only kidding, kids. Coming up next, Richard Gere is a cop out to avenge his dead partner in No Mercy.
Make a 911 call and get help over here right away.
Get out of the elevator.
Take the call.
Get out of the elevator.
Involves some sleazy visitors from New Orleans. So Gere goes down to Louisiana to try to avenge the killing, and he lands in the middle of an organized vice ring. The movie stars Kim Basinger as the personal plaything of the villain. She was there in Chicago when the murder took place, so at first, Gere thinks Basinger helped to set up his partner's death.
You don't know me. You don't know anything about my life. You think you know everything, but you don't know anything about my life.
I do know one thing. Joey Collins is dead because of you. And you stood there and you just watched, didn't you? Didn't you? Didn't you?
You don't know what I've seen in my life. You think that was the worst?
Nice lady.
Gere follows her to New Orleans and arrests her in an attempt to get to her boss.
You're not gonna walk out of this joint. You're gonna keep your fat mouth shut. Yeah. Huh? Move. Gillette. Eddie Gillette.
What?
Eddie Gillette. Say it.
Eddie Gillette.
Is there anything else come out of your mouth? Your history.
You shoot, they'll kill you.
Take it, Diane.
Still handcuffed together and pursued by the killers, they escape into Bayou country, and Basinger tries to explain just how she came to belong to the villain.
I was 13. My mama took me to a saddle. He gave her a house and some money, and I was his. You got that? I was given to him.
Every hooker's got a hard luck story. That's a real prize winner, that one.
I don't care if you don't believe me. You don't matter.
Wrong. I matter a whole lot, lady. You're going to jail. And your boyfriend's going to stop breathing.
Then, of course, they eventually fall in love, and then Basinger's boyfriend comes after them with a vengeance. You might have been able to guess from that scene that No Mercy has a couple of different speeds. The dramatic scenes and then the crashing through the plaster and lathwork scenes.
The more dramatic scenes.
Yes, the more dramatic scenes. On the one hand, it's a gritty police thriller with a touching romance at the center of it. Touching because Gere really does start to care for this illiterate redneck girl who was sold to the vice lord when she was still only a child. They develop a strong and interesting relationship. On the other hand, you have scenes like that last one where the bad guy comes crashing through the wall like the Terminator, actually. I'm getting real tired of movies that are interesting for the first 90 minutes and then go on automatic pilot with one more standard Hollywood shootout. But I thought there was a lot of good stuff in No Mercy, and certainly enough to recommend it, especially the performances by Gere and Basinger. Good performances.
And I am sitting here aghast because it's not an important film, but I don't like any of it. I didn't.
At all?
No. Well, I'll accept and endorse everything that you said negatively about the film, and now let's go after the stuff that you like.
Okay.
I didn't believe Gere in this cop thriller. I think that Gere can come through as a warmer character and is more effective when he does it, and I thought it was a lot of bluster. Basinger, who I've admired in other films, and I think is a really underrated actress because she's so pretty, I thought I got tired of seeing her abused. Now, maybe I'm having 9.5 weeks second memory where she was abused throughout that film, but when I see her being abused, again, so soon, I really got turned off. So I felt that both lead characters were playing out roles that really weren't as warm and as interesting as they can be on screen.
Well, to some degree, I think you have to accept her as a victim, and that sets up the drama of the film, that she really has been the victim of this evil guy, this almost neo-Nazi Louisiana vice lord, and that, I think, sets up the drama. There's a very touching scene when Gere is in the foreground and he hears that Basinger can't sign her name, that she's
Right.
illiterate.
That was a good scene.
He's very touched by that,
Yes.
because that's the moment when he changes his mind about her and realizes exactly who she is. And that, to me, set up and justified a whole lot of this movie.
That is a scene of warmth and tenderness, and if there had been more of that in this film and less negative energy, I think I would like it a lot more. When we come back, we'll devote our home video segment to the early works of Eddie Murphy.
That's called the quarter blood technique. You do that, a quarter blood will drop out of a person's body.
Our home video segment this week focuses on the career of Eddie Murphy, one of our very brightest comic talents who has been used both well and poorly in the movies. This commentary, of course, is prompted by renewed interest in him because of the release of his latest film, The Golden Child, which is proving to be a bigger hit with the public than with critics, most of whom hated it, except for Roger. Yeah, you liked
Roger and a few more liked it, yeah.
Very few more. But the first Eddie Murphy movie, 48 Hours, was a hit with both critics and public alike, as well it should have been, because I think it's still his best film, with Murphy, a convict, teaming up with Nick Nolte, a cop, to catch a killer.
See how you needed me a little more than you thought, huh, Mr. K?
I decided you as good a chance as I got. That shows you how desperate I am. This prison give out $400 suits?
$957 and I wore it in.
We're after a killer, not a bunch of hookers.
Yeah, well, I got a reputation for looking real nice with the ladies, man. Maybe when we get out, I could take you to a couple of spots. We can get you dressed up and we can go on a little...
Hey, I don't want to hear your jive. I already got that department taken care of.
You got a lady, Kate?
Yeah.
You know, the generosity of women never ceases to amaze me, you know that?
A smart and sassy line, and 48 Hours seemed as street smart as Eddie Murphy himself, which means very smart indeed, and that's been the critical factor, I think, in all of his films. Now, Murphy came very close in his second best film, the commodities comedy Trading Places, with Dan Aykroyd, where both rich and poor trade places. Murphy, suddenly treated as if he were rich, has a ball.
Well, William, what do you think?
I like it, Randy. It's very nice. I like the way you got the mirrors and stuff hooked up over there. It's very pretty. I like that. I like that mirror.
I don't think he understands, Randolph.
Oh, but Monty, I do understand.
William.
Yes.
This is your home.
Uh-huh, right.
It belongs to you.
Yeah, all this is mine. I like my home. It's very nice. That's very nice taste in houses. I like
Everything you see in this room is yours now.
Uh-huh, this is my stuff.
Your own personal property?
Yeah, my own personal.
You understand?
This is mine, yeah. I like that. Yeah, you know what I like most about my place, Randy? The curtains, man. Look at the curtains. It's beautiful the way I got this place set up, man. This is something else. I like it.
That's funny stuff. But his next picture, the stupid war comedy Best Defense, a film that Murphy publicly apologized for, remember, on the stage of Saturday Night Live? I love that. That whole film was undone because we knew that Murphy would never get involved in such a ridiculous situation and not get out of it really fast. That's the special burden of comics when they make movies. They had better be as funny as we know them to be on stage. Then came Murphy's smash hit Beverly Hills Cop, a film that I thought was funny enough when Murphy was putting down the people in Beverly Hills.
Morning, officers. What y'all, the second team?
We're the first team. Yeah, we're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe? It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe. See, that's more natural for us. You've been hanging out with this dude too long. I'm sorry, I'm just funny to me, sorry. So you're gonna try to keep up with me?
Now that's good, but the film doesn't work when he's simply involved with guns a-blazing police work, and there's lots of that, unfortunately, at the end of Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop, of course, grossed hundreds of millions of dollars, but I would still claim that the two best Eddie Murphys to rent right now are, in order of personal preference, 48 Hours and Trading Places. He's at his brightest and best in both.
Those would also be my two recommendations for home video. I was another one of the people who didn't like Beverly Hills Cop because I didn't think that it really used Eddie Murphy as the person that we've come to know and the person we've come to expect. It was a Sylvester Stallone screenplay. Murphy walked through it with a few run-liners. On the other hand, I think he's back on the track with Golden Child, but that was last week's argument, and I still stand by it.
It is interesting that the comics really are under pressure, and we see it with Richard Pryor particularly, and Pryor's been in a number of unsuccessful films because we know how funny and how lively he can be on stage, and if they're not as good in a drama, and it's hard to create characters as interesting as they are, they fall flat. Rodney Dangerfield, on the other hand, worked well with Back to School this summer.
Yes, but he didn't work so well in his previous picture where he tried to be nice. These guys always try to be nice, and it seems to me that particularly with comics, what works is the sharp, cutting edge. When they've got it, the movie works.
You got it.
Now let's take another look at the movies that we reviewed this week. We were both very impressed by Platoon, the realistic look at combat in Vietnam, told from the infantryman's point of view. 2 big thumbs up for an important new movie, and we both think it's one of the year's 10 best. We both voted thumbs up on The Lady and the Tramp, one of the more entertaining Disney animated classics and just about the only holiday movie for the whole family. But a split decision on No Mercy with Richard Gere and Kim Basinger. I saw some interesting characters, well acted. Gene thought it was a more routine thriller. So Platoon.
That's
a great movie, and we ought to say it's opening right now in New York, Los Angeles, and Toronto, and in the rest of the country it'll be rolled out in January and February, presumably right in time for the Academy Award.
I wish they'd bring it all out at once. I don't know why they can't treat the whole country the same. People are just as smart in the other cities, and I say this film is great. Bring it out now. At any rate, that's my opinion, and I'm not working for a studio. And that's probably why not. That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of 4 new movies, including Jane Fonda as an alcoholic stalked by a killer in The Morning After, and the film of Neil Simon's hit play Brighton Beach Memoirs. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.